Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back, friends, to another session of fluid mechanics and rate processes. So we've been discussing recently about similitude and modeling. The idea was that if we are to do experiments and look at some investigations on the flow around objects, then what is the best way to do these experiments, okay, because there are so many parameters. So we looked at two aspects of this. One was through a dimensional or a non-dimensional analysis, and we used the Buckingham pi theorem. And the idea was that you can form non-dimensional groups to do the modeling, whereby you can reduce the number of parameters that you need to take care of. The second strategy that we used was to look at the flow equations and non-dimensionalize them. So we will continue on the second strategy of non-dimensionalizing the equations, and let me review for you what we had done in the last session, and then we will take on from there. So if you recall, we looked at the flow equations in non-dimensional form. And in the last class, what we had done is we assumed that let the flow be steady. Of course, it was incompressible. And we said that we will not worry about body forces. And then what we were able to show that the non-dimensional equation would look something like this. Divergence of V star is 0, where the starred variables refer to the dimensionless variable. So we had defined that x star is given as x divided by L, where L is the characteristic length, and we had also mentioned that V star is the dimensional velocity divided by a characteristic speed. And the example that I gave you is of an aircraft. So the idea was that there is this aircraft, we are in this frame of reference xy, and the flow comes to the aircraft at a speed u. Okay, so you can imagine that we are sitting on the aircraft as an observer, and the flow is coming at us with a free stream speed of u. And we also talked about the characteristic length being the length of the aircraft. Okay. And then as far as the momentum equation is concerned, we actually had worked out that the convective term would look exactly the same as in the dimensional form of the equation. So V dot gradient of V star plus the gradient of the pressure, the non-dimensional pressure, and this would be given as 1 over Re times the Laplacian of V star. Okay. So these were the non-dimensional equations, and what we could see is that instead of the coefficient of viscosity, which was the coefficient of the Laplace term, that now has been replaced with 1 over Reynolds number. So the 1 over Reynolds number comes out as a parameter that helps us understand the magnitude of the various terms. Just for your memory, Re was defined as the Reynolds number, and this is rho times the speed times the length scale divided by mu, which is the coefficient of viscosity. I can now ask what happens to the boundary conditions. So let's look at the boundary conditions in the dimensional framework and then also the non-dimensional framework. So the first is the no slip condition. So if I look at this aircraft, then the no slip condition would require that v, the velocity on the solid surface, is 0. And if I non-dimensionalize this, so I substitute for v as v star times capital U, then since capital U is not 0, so it would require v star on the solid surface. Of course, now it is in the non-dimensional coordinates, is also 0. Okay, so because it's a vector quantity, so I put 0 also as vector. So that's the no slip condition. What happens at the far field? So I require that the speed far away from the aircraft should be u. So the v at x tending to infinity, both plus and minus infinity, I would require that this is given as ui, sorry, because it's aligned with the x direction. What happens in the non-dimensional? So again, my length of the aircraft in the non-dimensional coordinate system is actually 1. X star, if I look at the length of the aircraft in terms of x star, then the length would be 1. But if I look at far away, then I still have the x star tending to infinity. And now, as you will see, if I substitute for this non-dimensional speeds, then this would become 1. Okay? So far away, my speed is actually a unity. So this would be the v star. Okay? So I hope now you understand that these are the non-dimensional equations and the boundary conditions in the non-dimensional forms. They look very similar to what was in the dimensional framework, but just that now we have a new parameter here, which is called the Reynolds number. How do we interpret Reynolds number? It essentially reflects the ratio of the inertial forces to the viscous forces. Okay? So when the Reynolds number is high, that means the inertial forces are large. Then this 1 by Re is small, and therefore this term becomes very small compared to the terms on the left hand side. On the other hand, if my Reynolds number is small, okay, very small, much less than 1, then my viscous terms actually dominate the inertial terms, and then I can do my analysis accordingly. So the non-dimensional form of the equations also tell us a little bit more about the physics, okay, as to there are 3 terms here: the inertial, the pressure, and the viscous, and the Reynolds number actually tells us that which terms are more important compared to the others. Now I would like you to go back to the full equations. You know, here we made an assumption that there are no body forces and the flow is steady. Suppose I relax those assumptions. Then how do these equations look like, and what is the relative weightage of each term? It would help us to look at that. So I look at the full or the complete flow equations. The only assumption that I would like to make is that it is an incompressible flow. And of course, the fluid is a Newtonian fluid. These two assumptions we are making throughout the course. Okay, we are only dealing with the Newtonian fluid, and all the flows in this course are primarily incompressible. Okay, all right. So with that, I can write down first my dimensional equations. And these equations are divergence of V is 0. That's my continuity equation. And then I can also write down my momentum equation, which is rho del V del T. So that's the unsteady term, the Eulerian acceleration, plus the convective term, which is rho V dot gradient of V. So these two constitute rho times the material acceleration, we have seen them before, plus a gradient of pressure. This is mu times the Laplacian of velocity, so that's the viscous term, plus rho times a body force. Okay. So the continuity equation and the momentum equation, which is essentially a balance of forces. Now I would like to use a non-dimensionalization. So the non-dimensional form of these equations. So I would like to propose that let x be the same as before, which is actually x star is x divided by L. Okay, so we are going to use the same length scale. Same thing for velocity, and the non-dimensional velocity is the dimensional velocity divided by u, and u is some kind of a characteristic speed. For the flow past in aircraft, it was the free stream speed. For flow in a pipe, I could talk about an average speed through the pipe, or maybe the speed at the center line. It's really up to me, but I have to be consistent. For the flow in a pipe, for example, the L could be the radius of the pipe or the diameter of the pipe. Okay, so it's really up to me what I choose these as. Now my equation also involves a time. So let me propose that the non-dimensional time is t divided by an uppercase T, where t is a characteristic time in this problem. We could choose either t to be an independent quantity, or sometimes people try to get a time scale out of the length scale and the velocity scale. So if I did L by capital U, then that would actually give me a time scale. Okay, so one could do that also. Let's say for the pressure, I use the non-dimensionalization as P divided by capital P. So the idea here is that L, U, T and capital P, these are characteristic quantities. Okay, so they are characteristic length scale, velocity scale, time scale and a pressure scale. Now I would like to non-dimensionalize these equations. So what I will do is I will actually put these equations in a non-dimensional form, and whatever factor I get, I put them next to it. So let me show you what I mean. So first, the continuity equation. So that would simply give me, if I substitute for the divergence operator then I would get 1 over L, and for the velocity I get u. So I would get something like this, u by L, and this would be divergence of V star to 0. That's my continuity equation. All right, let me write down the momentum equation. So for the first term, I would get a rho, and for this V, I can write this as V stars times u, so I get a capital U, and for the time derivative, I would get a t here, and this would be del V star by del T star. So that's the first term. The next term here is the convective term, and this would be plus rho. So I get a u from this and a u from this, so I get a u square. And then from the gradient operator I get a 1 over L, so I put a L here, and then this term would be V star dot gradient of V star, but this is the non-dimensional gradient operator. I do the same thing for the gradient of pressure. So for P, I can write it as P star times a capital P, and therefore I would get plus an uppercase P divided by an L from the gradient operator. So this would be gradient star P star. Okay. Now I come to the right hand side, the viscous term. So this would give me a mu. For the velocity I get an uppercase U, and then in the denominator from the Laplacian operator I would get an L square, and this term would be Laplacian of V star. Okay. Now I come to the rho F term, and I will assume that there is only, so I will make an assumption here that let F be actually minus gk. So I am saying that the body force is only the gravity, and it's in the k direction. Okay, so this, if I make this assumption here and I substitute for that in this equation, then you see I would get a minus, and I could write here simply a rho times a g and a k. So these are my equations. Okay, the continuity equation and this entire thing as the momentum equation. Let me label these terms just to recollect and refresh your memory. So this term here is the unsteady term, right? This is the only unsteady term in the entire equation. Of course, it is an unsteady inertia, okay, because it's an acceleration. This one is also an inertia. This one here is because of the pressure gradient. Let me remind you that this is a force balance equation. This was derived by doing force is mass times acceleration. So these first two terms, they constitute the acceleration, and then the force came from a body force which is here, and the surface force has two components, okay, one because of the viscous stress and the other because of the pressure. So this is the unsteady term, the inertia. This is also the inertia, but it is the steady part, the convective derivative. This is the force because of the pressure gradient. This is actually the viscous forces, and this one here is because of gravity. Okay. Now, the argument that we are going to make is the following. V star is of the order of 1. Okay. because we have non-dimensionalized V star with capital U. Similarly, T star is of the order of 1 because we have non-dimensionalized T star with capital T, and therefore so the size of this term hopefully is of the order of 1, this term over here. Similarly, if I look at V star dot gradient of V star, this term is also of the order of 1 simply because we are using non-dimensional variables. Okay? So just to convince you about that, I can give you an example that if I look at del f by del x, but then I non-dimensionalize f star as f divided by capital F. So f could vary between some value 0 to f. So I non-dimensionalize this, and then x could vary between 1 to L. And then the question I ask myself is, what is the order of del? So this, therefore, I could write as capital F by capital L del f star by del x star by using non-dimensionalization. And I could ask myself, what is the order of this term? Well, f star is of the order of 1. Okay, it can vary between 0 to 1, at least in magnitude. X star can vary between 0 to 1. Therefore, roughly speaking, the order of this term is 1. And if I wanted to get an order of del f by del x, then actually this is the order of this term, capital F by capital L. Okay? So that's the way we would like to interpret these equations. Now I want to ask myself, what about the significance of these terms or the weightage of these terms compared to each other? Okay? So let me make a table. So the first comparison that I want to do is, what about inertial forces compared to viscous forces? How do I estimate the ratio of those? Well, inertial forces are of this order, rho u square by L, simply this coefficient. And the viscous forces are of the order of mu u by L square, right? Because the other coefficients, they are of the order of 1. So if I do the arithmetic, then you will see this becomes rho u L by mu, which of course is Re, the Reynolds number. Okay? And that's what we had argued earlier, that the Reynolds number tells me what is the relative magnitude of the inertial forces to the viscous forces. Okay, so this is also clearly available from this information is available from the equation. Okay, let's move on. Suppose now I want to know what about gravity. Okay, so let's say what is the ratio of inertial forces to because of the force due to gravity. So I am simply calling it the force due to gravity as gravity force. And then again I could do this arithmetic and say rho u square by L divided by the gravity, which is rho g, and therefore this would become u square by Lg. Okay? And this is known as a number, a square of that, the Froude number. So Fr is the Froude number, and they are all named after different scientists who discovered them. So Reynolds, of course, we all know, and this is Froude. So that would be u over square root of Lg. So if I wanted to find out from a certain phenomena, is my gravity term important compared to inertia, all I need to do is look at the Froude number. If the Froude number is extremely small, that means the inertia forces are small, very small compared to the gravity forces. On the other hand, if my Froude number is large, okay, much larger than 1, then I know if I look at Froude square, that would be even larger, and that means I don't need to worry about the gravity force because inertial forces dominate. Same is true with the Reynolds number. If my Reynolds number is large, that means I could probably not worry so much about the viscous forces, the inertial forces dominate.